Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Real Steel M390 Mini MicartaMorph, as it is being called by Indiana Knives. Only place you can buy one of these, indianaknives.com. I'm actually doing this review on a day I didn't plan on because I thought by the time I got this, they would be out of stock. Well, they're not. So I just hit refresh and it says add to cart. So if you want to go indianaknives.com right now and try and get one, you can. They are $145, which is pretty expensive for a Metamorph, not the most expensive one. But if you guys have watched this channel for a long time, you know I'm a big fan of the Metamorph. I think it is one of the best front flippers out there. This one is no exception. It is smaller with an M390 blade and micarta handles, as the name would indicate. So this is a 3-inch blade instead of 3.5. Basically the same great O-stop Hell design, though. It's just a little bit smaller. And micarta and upgraded steel. There are a lot of versions of the Metamorph out there. If you want one of the longer, slimmer, stabbier ones, the most common ones, and that's one of the things people love about them, you can get the SF14C28N version for like $60 with aluminum handles. There's also a much higher end titanium S35VN version, which I've always been really tempted by, but I haven't gotten it. It's about $166. And also there's even a fixed blade, which is the same exact kind of shape and everything, the same cool O-stop Hell design. It's a very popular design for Real Steel for many reasons, which we'll get into. I will link down below to some of my other Metamorph videos if you want to go check those out. There was a Gen 1, now it's a Gen 2. Yeah, I reviewed several Metamorphs, and I really do like them a lot. Previously, Indiana Knives did a G10 version. I also have a review of that, so I will try and link to those down below. But here we go with this one. Yes, a little smaller. Still just looks like that great design. I love O-stop Hell designs. They are fantastic. Really nice deep carry clip with the inset screws. Micarta, I will confess, I've only had this, two confessions, I guess. I've only had this knife for a day. So I wanted to get this out, though, so you guys had a chance to go buy one. So I don't have huge experience with it. And the micarta was a little bit lighter when I got it. I did put some oil on it, but I have good reasons for that. I do that with a lot of my micarta because I like the way micarta ages, but my hands do not sweat at all. They produce no secretions whatsoever. So whether it's copper handle, brass handle, micarta, or whatever, all those materials that are intended to patina over time, they don't with me. They just don't. So I cheat. So I did put a little bit of oil on this. It's half a shade darker. I'm using some new editing software. If I can figure out how, I did take a picture, like a before picture, so I will post that up, but it's really only about half a shade darker than it was before. So if I can't figure out how to get that in this new software, you ain't missing much. It's just half a shade lighter. If you go on their site, the picture also shows it from Indiana Knives. It's a little bit lighter, but this is what it will look like if you have normal human hands and you carry it for a month or so. So I just accelerated the process with some mineral oil, which I use this stuff, by the way, little side note on this. People always ask about what I use. I use this stuff on a lot of things. It also works great on G10. That's part of the reason why some of my pictures, like especially on Instagram, the colors pop a bit more. G10 dries out. You put that stuff on it, soaks in a little bit, makes the colors pop a bit more, and it does wonders for micarta. It can really change the look of micarta. If I just keep applying this and keep applying it and keep applying it, it's going to look more like the quote-unquote brown that it is. So, all right, let's get in some specs and some size comparisons. So as I said, this is a fairly small knife. I would call it mid-size, I guess. You have a blade length of 3 inches, overall length just a hair over 7 inches, blade thickness of 0.12 inches, handle thickness of 0.49 ounces, and as always on a Metamorph, very lightweight, 1.93 ounces. So a pretty light and easy to carry knife. Let's do some size comparisons here. You have your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Try and line up the pivots there. And the Para 3. So whereas the larger one, I wish I had one here to compare it to, but I don't. I actually asked Real Steel when I knew I was getting this. I said, hey, can I get hooked up with a regular one too? I don't have one at the moment. And they sell through them so fast that they weren't able to get me one. So yeah, the Metamorph is a very popular model. But yeah, so the previous one was more like the length of a PM2, but just very slender, where this one's more the length of a Para 3. And then we will bring out our usual Benchmades. We have your full-size bug out. I have a custom one of these coming I'm very, very excited about. And the full-size Griptilian. So yeah, same kind of thing. And then lastly, I'm just going to bring out a knife that I think is kind of similar. It's a little more expensive. This is what, $250, $240 something like that. This is the Riot Bushido. I almost called it a Shibuti. Oh, that's a blooper I'm going to leave in. The Riot Shibuti. Where did I get Shibuti in my head from? I'm sorry. Oh, I need a minute, but I'm leaving that in. Yeah, it's a little bit longer than the Shibuti, but much more slender. God, I hope I just didn't offend a whole bunch of Japanese people because I love the Japanese culture, but I don't know why I said Shibuti. Anywho, yeah, but both micarta handle, both M390. Yeah, you're looking at about $100 more for the Riot, and it is a little bit of a different construction method. Now, let's talk about the MicartaMorph more closely. First of all, cool name. I just think that's great. I love Indiana knives. They have a great sense of humor, and that's just a really cool thing to call it. The flipper tab is slightly different. We'll get to that. I'm skipping ahead. But yeah, the flipper tab's slightly different. I forgot to mention that in the way that it looks. But the blade on it is pretty darn good. It's M390, which you can't complain about that. No, I have no experience with real steel M390, so I can't comment on heat treat and that kind of stuff. But about 21 thousandths behind the edge, and it's pretty thin blade stock. It is kind of more of a saber grind, you know, than I would call a flat grind. But they're very slicey knives. They always have been. Especially, you know, the longer ones that you just have a lot of blade length. You have a bit less blade length here, but they were always great slicers. I don't expect this one to be any different at all. I expect it to be better because it's M390. But a nice blade. Not the stoutest tip in the world, but not as bad as you'd think. So not as delicate and dainty as you'd expect it to be. So not too bad. As far as the ergonomics go, that's one. If I have any flaws with this knife, it would be in this area. It's not bad at all. I mean, it would never stop me from carrying it, but I think just because of the size difference, you can feel the jimping on this lock bar a little bit more than I previously remember it being on the full size, and you can feel the butt of the handle just a bit more in the palm of your hand. But you can just feel that just a little bit more. It's like I said, it's not uncomfortable. It's just not, you know, the best thing I've ever held ergonomically. How does it carry? Well, we've already established that it is very thin, very light, has a great deep carry clip. So the answer is obvious. It carries extremely well. This is in the regular pocket. If you could even put this in a shirt pocket and it'd be totally fine. Like, the weight is not much. The pocket clip looks like a pen. I like the way the Real Steel logo looks. I know some people really hate having logos on a pocket clip, but you know, that doesn't even look like a knife brand or anything. I just think it looks cool. Looks almost like one of those QR codes or something like that. So, but I really like it. Anywho, and I think it will fit fifth pocket. I've never tried that yet, but I bet it will. Not quite. These are just standard old Levi, I think 551s or something. So yeah, it's just barely too long for a fifth pocket, but you know what? It was worth a shot. As far as the action goes, as I started to get ahead of myself earlier, yeah, the flipper is a bit different on this than I remember the regular Metamorph being. I could be incorrect, but I don't think I am, because I've had a bunch of them. It sticks up a little bit, and it does allow it to be extremely easy to open. Runs on the same roller bearings that the previous ones did, at least to my knowledge. I was not told differently. Again, I've only had this for a day. I didn't take it apart, but it feels like it's on those same roller bearings, which is a great thing. It's not quite as drop shutty as the previous. Again, I have not had this one apart. If I took it apart and put my special stank on it, it might get a little bit better. But it's also just physics. This is a short blade. You know, the previous ones too weren't working with a whole lot of weight. This is working with even less, with that thin blade stock and short blade. you can, with this new tab, open it like that too. You can do the little reach around flip, and that's cool. I like it. I actually have been opening it as I've been sitting here fiddling with it. I've been opening it like that a whole lot. I kind of like that. So yeah, the action, these things are great little fidget toys. Again, if you take it apart, you might be able to get it. You can hear there's a bit of lock stick. I do remember one of my previous Metamorphs had a bit of lock stick as well, and it went away pretty quickly. But yeah, pretty neat. I love these. That's one of the things I love the most about these. They are fantastic fidget toys. If you just want that front flipper experience, they're great, especially in the budget when you're not spending a lot of money. But I do think this one is worth the money. 145 bucks is like what? It's almost 3 times the price of a regular, 14C 28N. If you just want the fidget experience, get the regular one. But if you want a knife that I think is a little easier to carry, more importantly, probably in a knife like this, it's less intimidating to people, especially these micarta handles. It looks really classy. It's something that I could totally see you wanting to carry around the office. A little smaller, not as intimidating. The big one is, it does look very stabby. I know it's just another 1/2 inch on the blade, but I don't know. I think this looks a lot less intimidating to the average person. This looks like a little, pockety pen knife, as opposed to the other one is like, whoa, that's a lot of knife as soon as you open it in front of a normal person. So, yeah, big fan, as always. Again, I'm sorry I didn't take it apart and have more comments about that, but I really wanted to get this posted before they're all gone. I just hit refresh as of 5, this video is 11 minutes long, so 11 minutes ago. So before, 5, yeah, so like at about 5 o'clock Eastern time on the 22nd of October, they were still available. So go check them out over there and snatch you up one if you want. Again, 145 bucks. Indiana Knives, great people. Love working with them. So go snap one up. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.